In this power tip, we will show you how to create a detailed and high-performance block. While this plan view fountain looks fine, we will show you how to achieve something more like this. To begin, we will want to set our units by typing units in the command line. For this example, we will use architectural inches. Now that is taken care of, we can load our layer states. Do this by navigating to the Admin tab and clicking the Load Layers button. We want to choose Blocks and then Generic. Click OK to import the default generic layers. Typing layers in the command line will open the Layer Manager. Here we can take a closer look at the generic block layers. Everywhere we see a placeholder X's, we want to replace them with the code for whatever we are working on. In this case, we will type Amen because we will be working on an amenity block. The 13M layer will be used for our thin line work. The 25M layer will be used for our thick line work. The NPLT layer will be used for non-plotting line work. The PAT layer will be used for any hatches if needed. The TPY layers will be used for any fine detail. The value in the transparency column denotes how transparent the lines on these layers will print. And lastly, the text layer is to be used for any text if needed. To begin, we will want to create our basic outline using polylines and circles. You can type the commands into the command line or access them from the Home tab. Once the outline is complete, it should look something like this. You can see some of the line work is on the 25M layer and it will plot thicker, while some of the line work is on the 13M layer and it will plot thinner. Finding the right balance may take some practice, and it helps to consider the scale at which the block will print. Next, we want to use transparency layers to add fine detail and texture to the fountain. We could type P-line in the command line to use our polyline tool to achieve something like this. The texture that we want to print the darkest is on the 70 TPY layer, and the texture that we want to print lighter is on the 90 TPY layer. Now that we have our texture drawn, we want to temporarily turn those layers off and set our non-plot layer to active. We will use the sketch command to begin drawing our color hatch outlines. The goal is to create regions that will represent deeper and darker colored water versus more shallow and lighter colored water. Doing this freehand with the sketch command will produce a more organic look than using commands such as offset or simple circles. Now that we have our non-plot polylines in place, we can set up our colors. To do this, we can navigate to the FX Site tab and open the Site Color tool. You will notice that the hue, saturation, and luminance values do not correlate to the RGB values. For our purposes, we want to focus on the hue, saturation, and luminance. Our goal is to have the water look like one flowing body, so we want to create multiple shades of the same blue. Note the luminance value of our lightest blue. We will have 10 shades of blue, each one being 3 luminance values lower than the previous. This will be consistent through all 10 shades. Now we will use these shades of blue to color in the base for our water, and it should end up looking something like this. You can see the darkest spot is in the deepest part of the bottom pool and along the edge where the higher pools will overhang. It is important to set up these color hatches carefully. If one hatch has multiple areas, then changing the color for one hatch will change it for all of them. For example, in the edges of our fountain, we want to split them up so we can give them different color values. By splitting the edges up into more than one hatch, we have the ability to color them separately and add a sense of depth. To add an additional area to an existing hatch, simply select the hatch, then choose Pick Points. At that point, select the areas that you wish to add and hit Enter to finalize the changes. Now we will use the same method to give the higher edge pieces a lighter color. The next step is to use the sketch command to draw more non-plot shapes over the top of our base water to create surface water. These shapes can be as simple or complex as needed. Once the shapes are drawn, carefully trim them out and it should look something like this. By coloring in these new empty spaces with lighter blues, it will make the water appear as though it is flowing down from pool to pool. The end result will look something like this. We can now turn our TPY layers back on to put it all together. To see the fountain in its final form, we can do a print preview. Press Ctrl and P on your keyboard to open the print dialog box. Choose Print to PDF. Set the CTB file to lfx.ctb. Check Plot Transparency. And click Preview. Now you're all set.